Happy New Year, and thank you for watching Missouri Viewpoints, the program dedicated to the civil and informed discussion of the political, social, and economic issues that affect us all. I'm Mike Ferguson, and I'm joined by State Senator Jolie Justus, who represents the 10th District in the Missouri Senate. Now, the 10th District covers a large portion of Kansas City and Grandview. Senator Justus, thank you for being on the program here today.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and get right to the big issues. And the issue that's discussed most right now, of course, is health care. Now that you've been in the legislature for a year, what impact do you believe the Medicaid reforms and the implementation of Missouri Health Net are having on the state?
I think that the biggest issue that I have seen over the past year with the implementation of Mo Health Net is that we were not able to add additional people back onto the Medicaid rolls after the big cuts that we had in 2004 and 2005. We still have a substantial number of people without health insurance, and the numbers unfortunately continue to rise. We are going to be looking at an issue in the upcoming legislative session called Insure Missouri, and I think that it's an interesting plan in that we're going to be looking at adding some working parents back onto the Medicaid rolls, and I'm excited about the plan, but I'm worried that we are still going to be looking at hundreds of thousands of children and working adults who are still going to be without health insurance. And so I do have a concern that we are still without a safety net for a lot of people in the state.
Okay, now let me just kind of get to two fundamental questions regarding this issue. The first one is with the additions that you're looking for, how would we pay for that? And then secondly, what is the role that the government should have in healthcare?
Right now, I think that we are doing a disservice by not using the tobacco settlement money to pay for health insurance. I think that that money is being used right now it's being spread across general revenue, and it needs to be used specifically for healthcare costs. When we got the tobacco settlement money, it was supposed to be earmarked specifically for health care and tobacco prevention costs, and we're not using it for that. So I would like to see it used specifically for that. And as far as the government and health care, I would like to see specifically the government paying for 100% coverage. And I am specifically, I've been unabashedly in the past a single health payer,
universal health care.
Universal health care supporter in the past, and still am.
Okay, now let's move on to a different subject. Now, by profession, you're an attorney.
I am.
You sit on one of the judiciary-related committees in the state Senate.
I do.
What is your opinion of the recent efforts to change how judges are selected to the bench?
You know, the thing that's interesting about this is that, and you're talking specifically about the Missouri Plan, and the reason that they call it the Missouri Plan is because the nonpartisan selection plan has been picked up by at least 35 other states across the country, and they all call it the Missouri Plan. It's a plan that works, it's a nonpartisan plan, and it's a plan that has been under attack the past few years because it is perceived by the party that is in power right now as not working in their favor. The party that is in power right now, currently, they have the executive branch, they have the legislative branch, and they do not have the judicial branch. We have, for the past 200 years in this country, had a separation of powers that works. We want to continue that. We want 3 co-equal, independent branches of government. I am very much in favor of keeping the judiciary independent. To me, messing with the Missouri Nonpartisan Court Plan would take away that 3rd co-equal branch, and I am opposed to any attempts of changing that.
Okay, I'm seeing a lot of bills filed and some changes regarding the way the Missouri energy policy is happening. There's new law on the books now that says that over time, 10% of all the gasoline sold in the state is going to have to be from ethanol or renewable fuels. The governor is now calling for tax incentives for alternative fuels. Do these policies take the state in the right direction, or what other directions should the state be pursuing when it comes to energy?
You know, I think that the state needs to be looking at some policies. I'd like to see some true net metering policies go into effect. We did some work towards this last session. I'd like to see further work going into it. I'd like to see some of our farmers get some incentive to provide some of their own energy, rather than having mandates on what percentage of fuels and biofuels that we have out there. I'd like to see the incentives be at the local level. I'd like to see some incentives for people to buy closer to home. I'd like to see some Buy Missouri incentives. Those are the types of incentives that I'd like to see as far as energy incentives.
Okay, now obviously with your district being a more urban district, what are the top couple of issues that you've got your eye on as you head into the next legislative session that are specifically going to affect Kansas City and Grandview?
The incentives that I'd like to see as far as Kansas City and Grandview are what I call economic development bills. Unfortunately, a lot of times they aren't viewed as economic development bills, but when I explain them to you, I think you'll see how they can clearly be viewed as economic development bills because they get people into the workforce. My primary focus this year will be on the child care subsidy bill, which will be to increase the amount of the child care subsidy that we have in the state of Missouri. Right now, we're at the bottom of the barrel. If you make more than $7.08 an hour, you lose your child care subsidy in this state. The reason that this is important is we have a cliff. If you're working at Walmart, you make $7.08 an hour, you are offered a raise up to $8.25 an hour. You as a single parent finally have the opportunity to break out of that poverty cycle. You have to turn down that raise because you are going to lose your child care subsidy, and all of a sudden your child care is going to go from $25 a week up to $140 a week, and you aren't going to be able to afford that child care, and you're going to have to either turn down that raise or quit your job. It's a lose-lose situation. And so we need to do something to be able to keep those people out in the workforce. And so that is something that has bipartisan support, has support of all of the chambers across the state. It is something that directly impacts the economic development of this state. So that is something that I'm working hard on. The Missouri Housing Trust Fund has not had an increase in decades. It's something that we need to do to get more people into their own homes. It's something that we need to increase from $3 to $10. It's a very simple fee that people pay when they record documents in this state. That's something I'll be working on, as well as the Earned Income Tax Credit. These are all very simple things that we can work on as a community. They all have bipartisan support and the support of the chambers of commerce across the state. And I really do think that with those things, we can really help people get from just at the poverty level to middle class, and that's really what we need.
Okay, and we've got about 40 seconds left in the program. You've got one full session under your belt. What's your first impression of working in Jeff City in the State Senate?
Really have enjoyed working in Jefferson City. I went down there with a little bit of skepticism, a little bit concerned that I was going to be a little bit too far to the left. Turns out that my Republican upbringing works well. I get along with people on both sides of the aisle and have been very impressed with the collegiality and the good relationships I've been able to forge, and I look forward to the next 3 years.
Senator, thank you for coming on the program. I hope you'll come back as the legislative session progresses. And once again, thank you for watching Missouri Viewpoints. When you come to Grandview, come down to the Hard Bean Cafe. Try a good old-fashioned coffee Americano. We'll see you next week.